I got a call from the tree guy, and I got some Pignut Hickory, and I use a chisel to lift the end and a crowbar to start it. And then you're able to peel the bark off this time of year when the sap's flowing and the buds are out. And you have a nice pristine back that you could look at the wood and see where you can lay a bow down, and you just draw the design and trim it out, and that's the back of the bow. No sinew, no nothing. That's just the way it is. Draw it out, cut it out, and a little bit more of a process. You fire harden it. Something interesting, you see how there's a knot here? See the limb? Watch how I peel this off around it. It peels right up, and it leaves these knots here that you can lay a bow around, or if it's at the end of the bow, you could trim it flat and put a horn tip on it. But it peels up right around the limbs and everything. Now that the bark is in cambium, is peeled off the hickory log, this Pignut Hickory, you kind of roll it over and look and see where you can make a bow out of it. And I can make a nice 72-inch bow out of this piece right here. And the other side is kind of rough. So I've definitely got a nice bow, 72-inch bow out of here. And depending how much material I got left, I could probably make a 62-inch bow out of this side. So one definite, really nice long bow for somebody with a long draw, and possibly another 64-inch bow out of the other side. So at least I know my time wasn't wasted with this one. That, I'm going to take a chance and say it's firewood. That one, looks like I'll be able to snake a couple of bows out of it, especially since they're so long. This one here is, I went from down by that knot. 72 is here. So I can cut off both ends and have a nice middle section. What I wound up with was 2 hickory, Pignut Hickory logs that I can make bows out of, firewood, just too many knots and stuff, and firewood, too many knots, and that's it. As I get older, I'm 66, I try to work a little smaller. I drew out 2 bow designs on each side where I think I can make bows. Then I wanted to split the log in half so I could have 2 halves with a bow on each side. So now I cut it with a chainsaw instead of trying to beat myself to death splitting it. And now you hear it cracking. Okay, you can hear it cracking. It's splitting nice. Hickory is incredibly tough. The fibers, small little fibers, keep these pieces together. Look, just wanted to show you this. You see these little pieces? Very strong wood. So let's see if you can see what I got here. I got a bow laid out in here, a smaller bow. And I got a little longer bow I could cut out of here. And something I want to show you is when you have a knot or a burl on the end, if you're going to tape it down the wood and put a overlay on it, you know, whether it's horn or antler or whatever, it's okay. This piece will be okay because you're going to taper it down anyway. So you can go right to the outer edge of that knot, cut it off to make it a little longer if you want. You'll be able to get a little longer bow, and that'll be taken it down, and an antler tip or a horn tip will be glued onto that. So I successfully trimmed it, split it in half, and now I got to trim it up at some point. I don't know if I'm going to do it today or not, but and try to get 2 staves out of it. You know, a stave to make a bow blank. That big one is for another day. That has to be cut with the gas-powered chainsaw. And I really got to take my time rolling it around and looking at it and seeing where I can take a bow out of. I don't want to rush that one. Okay, I have a center line, and I'm probably going to be able to sneak a bow out of each side. And just to keep in mind too, whenever there's a knot on the very end, if you're going to use a tip overlay, you're probably going to take down wood anyway, and it's okay to incorporate that part of the knot in the length you need of the bow. And as I go down here, I want to cut past this knot, so I cut it flush, because the tapers of the limbs at this point will be narrower than this, but I want to make a straight cut right down to this line. This is a 72-inch line here, and I'm leaving this on so it's clamped to the bench so I have control. So I'm going to run this down, the circular saw down the center, and we're going to see if we're going to split it first or I'm going to run a parallel line while it's wrapped down. These circular saws, when they cut hardwood, they get very hot, extremely hot. And you have to run them a little bit. There's a fan in there. Run them a little bit to cool off. Okay, so let them cool off a little bit. And, you know, just let it run, put it down. And now we have our splits. We're going to use an axe and a hammer to split them the rest of the way. There's the last bit there is extra, and I use that to anchor it. Once I cut it to the 72-inch length, these pieces should come apart like butter. Okay, they're almost split. One fell off. I got to just tap the other 2, and look, I got 2 nice staves here, side by side. Look at this here. I wasn't sure I was going to get 2 nice staves out of this, but I did. Look. Show you the other one. And where these knots are, they taper, so it's okay. These knots won't be in the way. So I got 2 nice staves out of the one that I thought I was only going to get 1 out of. It pays to take your time and roll over the log and see where you're going to lay it out. Any of these burls or bumps, you see I took them down so I could run the saw over and not have them catch. Okay, I took all those high peaks down. And once again, where there's a burl on the end of where you think the end of your bow is, you can incorporate that. You could use that inch or so if you're going to take down the wood and put a limb tip over it. You know, buffalo horn or antler or wood or whatever. You could, instead of cutting in front of it, you can cut, you know, an inch behind it and have a little longer bow length. So you saw them off, and you can incorporate that in the end of the limb. Okay, I'm going to take this one off, then I'm going to run a saw down the center. I'm going to run a circular saw down the center, and then on the outer edges you can do whatever you want, a chainsaw or whatever, to take the meat off. And like I said, the circular saws, they get hot, and they have a fan inside, so after you make the cut, let them cool for a while before you unplug them, because if you put it down hot, it could pop a breaker. So I drew a center line, and I cut the ends with a chainsaw, just so I could strap it down. This log is way longer than I need, but we're going to cut along the line now. Okay, this one took a while. This is the second log. I didn't expect to get 2 pieces out of it, but it looks like I can get 2 bows out of this by incorporating the knot in the ends. Oh, I still got some fibers connecting here. It's amazing how these little fibers connect. Well, after careful layout, I got 1 bow here. And I'll have another bow here. So I got 4 bows out of that log, which I only expected to get maybe 2. So, worked out. This is that 1 short stave that I got out of the second log. That's 58 inches long. That I'm going to incorporate a knot into the tip overlay. And it's probably going to need a handle, but it's 58 inches, and I'm going to put it away. And instead of a youth bow, we're going to see maybe a youth bow in the future, or depending on how that sinew bow comes out, maybe another sinew back bow, but we'll see. I just hate going through all that work and throwing the wood away, or, you know, as far as making firewood out of it. If I can make a bow, I'm going to make a bow. So all I have left is 1 big log to get staves out, and that's going to be a lot of work. Well, I was surprised. I got 3 bows and a short bow out of that 1 log. The other 2 were cut up into firewood. And then one day I'm going to have to really look at that. There's a lot of humps and bumps in there, and roll it over and see how many bows I can get out. There's just so much going on that log. I'm hoping to get maybe at least 2 out of it. I'm hoping. We'll see.